If you're curious about Papercrete, you've come to the right place. I'll tell you what you need to get started and inspire you to get creative with this versatile sculpting medium. So, why use Papercrete? Basically, it's easy and cheap, and lightweight, and durable. It's pretty much perfect if you're trying to make flower pots and big sculptures or small ones, ornaments, thingies, whatever. All you need are some basic tools. No firing in a kiln needed, so there's no size limit. And it's lightweight, so you can make big pieces that will still be portable. It's easy to get started, and there are ways to add complexity, so you can keep having fun with this hobby for, ever. Today I'm going to show you how to make a flower pot, but stick around till the end of the video where I will blast your brain with ideas of how to take it much further. Papercrete is a mixture of cement and paper, and sometimes other stuff we'll get to, but essentially cement and paper pulp. Preferably don't use new paper, but rather newspapers that you're done reading. Instead of putting them in the recycle bin, turn them into a beautiful pot that will last many years. And that leads me to the first question people always ask. How long will a Papercrete pot last? If it's out in the rain, will it just turn to mush? No. Your Papercrete creation will last many, many years, perhaps outlast you, even in the rain, snow, and ice. Bring on the inclement weather, your Papercrete creation will stay intact. So, let's make a pot. Use non-glossy paper, preferably shredded, either with a machine or by hand, preferably newspaper because it breaks down easily. Soak for a few hours or even days if you're that patient, then blend with a paddle mixer. Pour into a bucket with holes and let drain overnight. If you don't want to wait for it to dry, you can squeeze out the water by hand. Don't wring it out entirely because you actually need some of the water in the final mix. Now, there are different recipes that people prefer, but here's the mix I recommend for beginners. Cement. Get the stuff labeled Portland cement, not concrete, which is cement with rocks in it. Perlite. Perlite is a lightweight mineral that's used as a soil amendment. In Papercrete, it just adds a nice structure that's hard to describe until you feel it. But it's optional, so if you can't find it, leave it out. Measure with something like an empty yogurt container. The amounts don't have to be perfect, don't be obsessive. But do be obsessive about self-protection. Wear a good, tight-fitting respirator when working with cement, when it's in the dry powdery stage, because you don't want to breathe this stuff. Once you have your mix, just pack it in your mold. And your mold can be just a pot. Here I'm using a plastic bag as a mold release, but if your mold is plastic, you can use oil as a mold release, any kind of oil. Just pack it in there, making sure to use enough force that it squishes against the sides. Take care to sculpt the edge, and then just cover it. Cement cures better when it stays damp. Clean up outdoors. Do not put any cement residue down the sink unless you want a reason to call your plumber. It'll take about 4 to 7 days before it's cured enough to demold. Then another maybe 4 to 7 days before it's totally dry. Then it's done. A lot of people like the concrete look, but you have the option to paint it if you wish. In this video I primed it with this stuff, but later I found on various places of the internet that instead you should prime with watered down latex house paint. Watered down, it'll get into the pores of the cement. After priming, you can paint with latex or acrylic paint. Like I said, Papercrete pots will last many, many years. Outside, in the rain, unsealed, anythinged. However, if painted, it's recommended to use a sealer to help the paint last longer. As an alternative to painting, try cement pigment. Just mix it in with the paper pulp first. Have fun planting. At first I wondered whether the alkalinity of the cement would affect the plants, but I did some research and most people say it's not a problem once the cement is cured and dried. Okay, I promised I'd blast your brain with ideas about taking it further. First of all, experiment with pots of different shapes and sizes. Once you get a feel for it, you'll get a vibe for what you can do and what you can't, really. Try packing Papercrete on the outside of something, like perhaps a formwork that you made. Papercrete can be drilled or carved. It's enjoyable how easily a grinding or cutting blade on an angle grinder will rip through it. You can add to your Papercrete creation after it's dried, using even more Papercrete, in this case a perlite-free mixture. Just soak the piece you're adding to first. You can imprint something like a leaf. You can join pieces together with bolts, or mortar, or construction adhesive. Perhaps make a wall for your garden and put a tile mosaic on it. If you sculpt something you like, you can make a mold of it. Just cover the original with plastic, oil, or Vaseline before squishing Papercrete on the outside of it. In this case, since the shape was more complicated, I made a two-part mold. You can make hybrid pieces with concrete or mortar for strength, like on the edges. Sometimes I'll get the shape I want in Papercrete, then smear mortar on the outside of it to make it effectively as hard as concrete. For small pieces, you can decorate with air-dried clay or plasticine clay and bake it right in the oven because, did I mention, Papercrete is fireproof? I'll stop there for now. I hope that gives you enough to get started making your own things. If you want more ideas, follow me on the socials. Info in the description. Now, go be creative.